Good morning. This is Nicholas from Gandora Gaming, and Merry Christmas Day to you all. And I just want to say thank you all so much for the support. This really means a lot. And Konami has blessed us with a Christmas present of new archetype. It looks like this is the Nemurelia archetype, Dreaming Nemurelia to be exact. And let's just go straight into this. So first things first, I'm not actually sure how this deck works because there's only one main deck Pendulum monster, which we're about to go over right now. But it seems very interesting. I think the idea is that she's a little girl that's sleeping in your extra deck monster zone, and while she dreams, you special summon monsters, which is pretty interesting. So let's just go straight into this. So she's a level 1 light fairy pendulum effect monster, 0 attack, 1500 defense. Pendulum effect, once per turn, you can place one Nemurelia continuous spell from your deck to or graveyard to your face-up field. If you do, add this card from your extra deck face-up. Can't special summon the Dreaming Nemurelia the turn you activate this effect. So that's pretty interesting. The fact that you can't special summon her, and her only way is to be put from the air. So that's kind of interesting. Her monster effect is you can't be normal summon / must be special summoned from your extra deck by having no cards in your extra deck other than Dreaming Nemurelia. You can only special summon Dreaming Nemurelia once per turn this way. If this card is special summoned, you can banish this card your opponent controls and in their graveyard face down for every 3 of your face down banished cards. And shuffle this face down banished card into the deck equal to the number of banished cards by their effect. That seems really, really interesting. But to be honest, I have no idea how good that is because this is the first time reading these cards. So it looks pretty interesting. So if I understand this whole concept, is that she's in the pendulum zone, and then she has an effect while in the pendulum zone. She just places a spell card, and when she's on the main monster zone, she can't be. She has to be in the extra deck monster zone, and when she's there, basically by having no other cards in your extra deck, which means I guess this is like a monarch strategy. You can't play extra deck monsters, which is weird. By having no cards in your extra deck, other than Dreaming Nemurelia, which is her, you can only special summon Dreaming Nemurelia once a turn this way. If this card is special summoned, banish up to one of your opponent's cards and / or in the graveyard face down for every 3 of your face down banished cards. So I guess if you Pot Desires activate this card effect, you just banish for every 3 face down. So that's like a banish 3 face down. That's actually pretty insane, honestly. We'll have to look into this. So let's just read the next card. Next, we have Nemurelia's Dream Defender, Coryet. This guy's a level 10 light beast effect monster, 2500 attack, 2000 defense. It's not a pendulum, which is strange, but it's the only one other archetypes in the pendulum zone, so that's strange. But basically, you can only special summon this card with its first effect, and the first effect is name once per turn. You can only use the second effect is name once per turn. Basically, if you have a face-up pendulum monster in your extra deck, you can special summon this card from your hand. Okay, so just, hey, if you have a face-up pendulum monster in your extra deck, to special summon this card, that's pretty generic. And then, if you have a face-up Dreaming Nemurelia in your extra deck, quick effect, banish 1 card face down from your extra deck, face down. This card gains 500 attack for each monster your opponent currently controls until the end of the turn. That's pretty interesting. So the gimmick of this deck is that you banish cards, and you also have no extra deck, and you're also using a 1-of Pendulum. I'm not exactly sure how that works, but it seems really cool. The artwork looks amazing. I just don't know how good this will be in practice. This is definitely the strangest archetype I've read when it comes to the new wave of stuff. Just because I don't understand how this... one of my favorite things about Yu-Gi-Oh! Is learning game mechanics. Because every archetype has its own different kind of strategy to win the game. For example, Dream Mirror's whole gimmick is that they give each other field spells, and the light and dark field spell, depending on which one's up, give the light and dark monsters different effects, which is really, really cool. But this is actually just pretty interesting. So let's just go straight into the next one. Nemurelia's Dream Defender, Coryet. Which, by the way, all these monsters look like Madolche monsters, which is weird. Are they Madolches? No. But like Madolche 2.2? but different game concept. We'll just kind of read. So this is a level 10 light beast effect monster, 2,000 attack, 2,500 defense. Can only special summon this name once per turn. Can only use the second effect once per turn. If you have a face-up pendulum monster in your extra deck, you can special summon this card. So hey, that's not bad. That's pretty easy to do. If your opponent activates a card or effect that targets a Nemurelia card you control, and you have a face-up Dreaming Nemurelia in your extra deck, quick effect, banish one face-down card from your extra deck face down, negate the activation. That seems really, really cool. Maybe I'm misunderstanding its archetype, because it's saying you have to banish cards from your extra deck. But if I remember reading Nemurelia correctly, the way to special summon is if you have no other cards in your extra deck except Nemurelia. Maybe that just means face-up cards. I might be misreading this. It might be just face-up cards. I mean, you can't have an extra deck, but you just can't have any face-up. So it's like one archetype pendulum. You have anything in your extra deck you want, but, that seems really, really interesting. It's another really cool monster. It's a free special summon if you control a pendulum monster in your extra deck monster zone. Well, not extra deck monster zone. If you have your a pendulum monster, in your extra deck face up, which is pretty interesting. Not to mention, it is a quick effect banish one card face down. That is pretty insane. I just don't know how I feel about this card. This card is really, really cool. It's 2,000 attack. The artwork's amazing. We'll have to see what keeps going. So next thing is we have a continuous spell, not a field spell. When I first saw this art, I thought it was a field spell. I just think I have a tier element in the brain because this card looks like a tower, but it is a tower. Sleeping Beauty, Tower of Nemurelia, or Nemurelia. I might be horribly pronouncing this card, but basically this card's effect is that basically you can only activate each effect once per turn. You can banish 2 face-down cards from your extra deck face down. Add 2 level 10 beasts with different names from your deck to hand. Can't special summon monsters from the extra deck the turn you activate its effect. So, okay, you do play extra deck, you're just not using it. You're just banishing it face down. That's pretty interesting. And then, basically, if Nemurelia monsters you control will be destroyed by battle or opponent's card effect, and you have a face-up Dreaming Nemurelia in your extra deck, banish this card face down. Banish one face-down card from your extra deck instead. That's really, really interesting. This archetype is so weird, but I kind of like it. It's not good. I don't think it's good unless they print out like 10 more new cards, but this is some really interesting stuff and some really beautiful artwork. Our final card reveal is Sweet Dreams Nemurelia, or Nemurelia. I don't know how to pronounce this card. But a normal spell card. You only activate the first card once per turn. So even if they negate it, you can only activate this name per turn. So that's interesting. Basically, that's the effect where you can add one Nemurelia monster from your deck to hand. If you have a face-up Dreaming Nemurelia in your extra deck, your opponent can't activate cards or effects except Nemurelia monsters is normal or special summon for the rest of the turn. You can place this card on the bottom of your from your graveyard to the bottom of the deck. Target one Nemurelia control, add it to the extra deck, face up. So that was my biggest issue with this archetype. This card does address it, but I don't know how good that is. So my biggest issue now looking into this archetype was, you don't use the extra deck. How in the hell are you getting the pendulum in your face-up extra deck? Because the pendulum doesn't put itself in a face-up extra deck zone. So there's a couple of weird things about this archetype. And once it specials itself from face-up your pendulum zone, what I mean by that is, if I'm reading the cards correctly, it wants to special summon itself from the top of your extra deck face up. Because when pendulums die, they don't go to graveyard. It goes up to the face-up extra deck. And the whole gimmick of this deck is that you want to banish your extra deck cards, you're locked out of your extra deck, and you special summon the main monster from your face-up extra deck, which is confusing because the only way to put a pendulum there is either by running it into someone, so you have to go second running a 0-attack monster into another monster, or you link summon it away, or you use it as material, except XYZ materials, that would go to grave. So, I'm not really sure how I feel about this, but you tell me in the comments. Really, really cool archetype. Merry Christmas, and see you on the next one.